Welcome to the Earn It Podcast, making it to and through nursing school. I am your host, and this is a morning motivation episode. Today is Friday, March 7th, and it's time to get motivated. Today's quote of the day is, everything you've ever wanted is sitting on the other side of fear. This is a quote that's attributed to George Addair, Addair. And I think that it speaks volumes for us because we're so scared of failing and getting kicked out or having to repeat something. Being in nursing school, fear of not being able to finish, fear of getting all the way in and not being able to pass your boards or whatever it is. The funny thing is that fear, most of the time, or at least half the time, actually stops you from continuing to go down the path that you're going down, or at least going down it to the fullest extent. There's a little bit of fear that you can use for, kind of as a tool, but most of the time it's excess fear, and most of the time it stops us in our tracks. It's kind of like what we usually say is procrastination when we're kind of holding things off that we don't quote unquote want to do or don't feel motivated to do. This is another type of procrastination that's specific to being afraid of doing something. Some people, it's more related to paralysis by analysis, right? Paralysis by fear, because when you're afraid of whatever you're trying to accomplish, you're basically afraid of what's ahead of you. So we kind of have these natural instincts to stop and analyze everything and figure out how we can have the best possible outcome. And there's too many things that are unknown for us to do this properly in a school setting the majority of the time. We can plan our weeks, we can plan when we're going to do what for the most part, but we can't necessarily, we can plan our study time, but we can't say, oh, well, with this much study time, I'm going to make this score on an exam. That's not how this works, right? So that's kind of, and then that feeds into additional fear. But the fact of it is, the fear is mostly useless for us. And that's what this episode is for. It's just to tell you, A, you're not the only one that's constantly afraid. And B, as soon as you stop being afraid and you just continue, the thing that you actually want is right on the other side of that, just like the quote says. If I am, and I'm sure since you have started, you have had a time where you've been really afraid to do something. And at some point you're like, well, it's time to get down to business, right? It's time to start doing said thing. And you did it and you got it done. But you passed a period where you were not doing something because you were so freaking freaked out. And that just goes to show you. So some of these are just having you reflect on things that you've already gone over in the past. But really, these quotes just kind of prompt me to go down specific avenues of things that I know some of us or all of us are going through while we're going in nursing school. So I hope that this helps. But really just realize I guess if you're experiencing that fear and you can't really control the fear, I hope that this episode makes you stop and think about, hey, that fear is a good thing, because every time I have this kind of fear, it's before something really good happens, because I make it happen, and it's because of some of that fear. And again, I said before that some of the fear can be used as a tool, but then the rest is excess. I guarantee you're having some excess fear past what is useful to you. And it takes everybody a little bit to figure out what that is and what kind of coping mechanisms we can use to kind of get rid of that fear or reduce that fear. And, maybe I can have somebody on that's kind of an expert at that. I know maybe a couple people that would be interesting to just kind of publish some coping mechanisms for being really, really just overwhelmed and freaked out and anxious about things. Because the majority of nursing school is anxiety, and the rest is learning. And almost every bit of fear, and almost every bit of that anxiety is getting directly in the way of you actually being able to accomplish your goals. So again, everything you've ever wanted is sitting on the other side of that fear that you are feeling right now. Thank you so much for getting motivated with the Earn It Podcast. Go out there and earn it today. And if you enjoy this episode, please do follow and share this with others. Go out there and get it.